Hello students, so today we are going to learn the third part of the chapter reproduction lower and higher plants. Now in the previous two videos we have learned about asexual reproduction, that is fragmentation, budding, spore formation and few more like binary fission, conidia formation, gemmule formation. Also we learned about vegetative reproduction, that is cutting, grafting, tissue culture. And in the second video of the chapter we learned sexual reproduction, that is structure of anther, microsporogenesis, that is structure of microspore, development of male gametophyte, structure of anatropous ovule, development of female gametophyte. Now in this particular part of the video we are going to learn about pollination in detail. Now in the present slide you can see bird pollination and bee pollination, that is ornithophily and entomophily. Now moving further, second slide I had also kept few more animation images which helps us to learn more about the chapter. So here we can see anemophily, that is pollination done by wind. Second, hydrophily, water pollination. Ornithophily, bird pollination. Entomophily, insect pollination. Also there are various types of insect, as all of you will be knowing. So based on the insect the different terminologies are there, but in general it is entomophily. And melacophily, snail pollination. Now these are the main 5 types which we will be learning along with the bat pollination. Clear? Now the major part which you are learning is pollination, autogamy, geitonogamy, xenogamy along with abiotic agents, biotic agents and outbreeding devices and pollen pistil interaction. Now coming to the pollination, the introduction part of it, pollen grains being non-motile, angiosperms have evolved the strategy to use abiotic agents like wind and water and biotic agents, birds, insects, snails, to their flowers, feeding the visitors and exploiting their mobility for pollination and seed dispersal. So as you know, the pollen grains are non-motile. So for pollination, it is necessary that abiotic or biotic agents are required. Pollen grains are non-motile. They are usually carried from flower to flower by means of the external agents, which you are going to learn in detail. Pollen or pollination is a transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of the flower. It is a prerequisite for fertilization because both male and female gametes are non-motile. So as both the gametes, that is male and female, are non-motile, so there is require of transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma, which is pollination, which is carried by the different agents, right? Now moreover, gametes are produced at two different sites. That is first, self-pollination type of pollination which occurs in a single flower or two flowers on a single plant. It results in inbreeding or selfing, means crossing over taking place within the same plant, same flowers of the same plant. In contrast, cross-pollination is a transfer of pollen grains from anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower of different plant of same species. Now I hope this part is clear. Self-pollination, the same plant, same flower or different flower on the same plant, whereas cross-pollination, pollen grain from anther of one flower to another flower to another plant may be of same species. So pollination can be further divided into 3 types on the basis of sources of pollination. Now moving further, I kept an image over here for types of pollination. So quickly into the types which will help us to know the entire part of this part of the video. So first, self-pollination. Second type is cross-pollination, which is also called as xenogamy. Now self-pollination has got 2 types. One is autogamy, that is same flower, or geitonogamy, 2 flowers of the same plant or different flower of the same plant. Whereas cross pollination, again by abiotic or biotic factor, it has got different types. In case of abiotic factor, it is wind pollination anemophily, water pollination hydrophily, whereas biotic factor means bio, the living factors such as entomophily insect, Chiropterophily bat, Malacophily by snails, and Ornithophily by birds. All these which we came across in the first two slides. Again, there are a few more animation slides in the later part to understand it more clearly. So here we can see the pollination image where pollen grains gets transferred by pollinator, then the pollinator carries a pollen grain to another flower, maybe of the same plant or the different plant. Okay. Now coming to the types. A. Autogamy or self-pollination. So it is a type of pollination in which bisexual flower is pollinated by its own pollen grains. So as term bisexual, the male and the female gametes are present in the same flower. Offspring are genetically identical to their parents. Since it is self-pollination, the offspring or the new species form will be similar. Example, pea plant. So you can see here the image where ovules produce a female gametes, the anther produce pollen grain which contains male gametes. So you can see the transfer of pollen grain into the stigma which receives the pollen grain. So self-pollination being taking place. Second type, geitonogamy. It is a transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of a different flower produced on the same plant. So it is functionally similar to cross-pollination as it involves pollinating agents. So it is somewhat similar to cross-pollination because it has to be transferred. But even though it is getting transferred, since the genetic variation will be less because it is from the same parent plant, but it cannot bring about genetic variation and it's only ecologically significant. So example, Cucurbita maxima. It is similar to autogamy as pollen grains come from the same plant. So it's because the pollen grains are the same plant, taken from the same plant, so the offspring will be again genetically similar. Again you can see here the image, cross pollination, self-pollination or self-pollination geitonogamy. Now in self-pollination the flower may be different of the same plant. Only if it transfers to another plant, then it will be cross-pollination. Now moving to the third type, xenogamy, that is cross-pollination or outbreeding. Now here it is a type of cross-pollination when pollen grains of one flower is deposited on the stigma of a flower of a different plant belonging to the same species with the help of pollinating agent. So from here the term is clear that the pollen grains is transferred to another plant as the species may be same but to a different flower of a different plant but the same species with the help of a agent that may be wind or biotic agents. It generates generally varied offspring. Now because of two different pollen grains from two different plants, then the offspring may be different. Majority of flowering plants depend on the transfer of pollen grains. So most of the cases the flowering plants depends for transfer of pollen grains. So virtually all the seed plants need to be pollinated. So pollination is necessary. Most of the food and fiber crops grown through the world depend upon pollinators for reproduction. So in all the cases, specifically the food and fiber crops, pollinating agent is required. So again you can see two animation images, two images. One, the animation image of a flower which is blooming out. Then in second case, the flower of a papaya plant, which is a image. Then agencies of pollination. So now we come to the agencies. So in the first two slides we saw different agents of animation images. So here pollination, self-pollination, cross-pollination. Self-pollination, as you know, it is autogamy. Cross-pollination, xenogamy. The cross-pollination has got abiotic agents, wind and water. So wind is called as anemophily, water hydrophily. Whereas biotic agents, there are many which are added over here for your better understanding, and even it will be helpful for the NEET exam point of view. So here in case of beetle, it is called as catrantophily. For moths, Phalaenophyllae, bees, Melitophyllae, butterflies, Psychophyllae, snail, Malacophyllae, birds, Ornithophyllae, bats, Chiropterophyllae, and ants, Myrmecophily. Now here, if you see the ant Myrmecophily, or in general, the term first, if you take wind, Anemophily, anemo means whether it is this wind, or if it is hydrophily, hydro water. The term phily means pollination. So pollination by that particular agent. So here we can see there are many different insects which also pollinates. Now coming to the next part, in detail about the agents responsible for pollination have been grouped into two main categories, abiotic and biotic. So abiotic agents, these are non-living things which include wind and water. So two non-living agents, wind, water. So pollination by wind is called as anemophily. The term anemo, wind, phily, pollination. So most of the important crops are pollinated by wind. These includes wheat, rice, corn, rye, barley, and oats. Palms are also wind pollinated. So as we just learned earlier, all the food and fiber crops are pollination is required, and mainly these monocots, wheat, rice, etc., they have to be wind pollinated. Then adaptation in anemophilous flowers. So what is the adaptation required? First, flowers are small, inconspicuous, colorless, without nectar and fragrance odor. Now what does this point mean? Now there is no color, no nectar, no attraction, no fragrance. Why? Because it is a biotic agent. In case of biotic agent, insects, birds, they attract because of smell, nectar, or other agencies or other adaptation. But here, because of wind, there is no need of any of this part for the pollination. The pollen grains are light in weight, so they can be easily carried through wind. Light in weight, dry, and produce in large numbers to increase the chances of pollination, considering wastage of pollen grains. Now if it is wind pollination, the wind can carry the pollen grain anywhere. In that case, we will be not sure whether it will get pollinated or not get pollinated. That is why the pollen grains are released in hundreds and thousands, so the chances of pollination increases, or as mathematically the probability increases. Okay. Further, stigma is feathery to trap pollen carried by the wind currents. Stamens are exerted with long filaments and versatile anther. So the stigma is feathery, so they can trap the pollen grains. The stamen has got long filaments and the versatile anthers, now which helps it to get trapped to the stigma, so pollination can be easier. Stamens and stigma are exposed to air currents, means they can get easily adapted to the different air currents. The reason, so pollination can be possible. Now here again the animation images, few more. You can see here in case of wind pollination how slowly and steadily because of the wind it carries the pollen grains. And even if you see it has got a parachute like structure, umbrella like structure, because of which as wind carries it, it can remain floated in air for a longer period of time, so the chances of possibility or probability increases for pollination. Okay, now here the image of wind pollinated plant. So you can see here male inflorescence, which is called as tassel, the male spike stamen which is present in it, the female inflorescence otherwise called as ear, styles which is silk, pistil, style which is called as the silk part, ovary, the female floret. Then from the basal part, root, prop roots, the mature ear, that is husk, seed, that is kernel, stalk part of the plant, the leaf part. Okay, so these are the various parts of the wind pollinated plant, or we can say the crop plant, food plant, or the monocots. Now second type, that is pollination by hydrophily, that is water pollination. found in only in some 30 genera of aquatic monocots. Example, Vallisneria, Zostera, Ceratophyllum. So all these three images I put over here. You can see the first one over here, which is Vallisneria, the second the Zostera, and the third Ceratophyllum, where again two species are there, Acanatum and Demersum. Okay, so both are slightly differing from each other, but the genus Ceratophyllum. Now, adaptations in hydrophilous flowers. Flowers are small and inconspicuous. Perianth and other floral parts are unwettable. So again, since it is water pollinated like wind pollinated, it is small, inconspicuous, there's no attraction, there's nothing to attract in case of biotic agents. The floral parts again unwettable, reason they are water pollinated, so when they are in water, if they get wet they may get spoiled and decompose, so they got a coating which makes it unwettable. So pollen grains are long and unwettable due to the presence of mucilage, so that makes it unwettable. Nectar and fragrance are lacking in these flowers as it is water pollinated. Now, moving further, in hydrophily, there are two types. One is hypohydrophily, second epihydrophily. So first we come to hypohydrophily. Pollination occurs below the water surface. The term hypo, below. Here the pollen grains are heavier than water, sink down and caught by stigmas of the flower. So in this case, the pollen grains are heavier so that they'll sink, and as they sink below, the stigmas catch these pollen grains. So example, Zostera seagrass. So Zostera, other name is seagrass. The pollen grains are long, reveal-like and without exine. So there is no exine. Again, why there is no exine? Because unlike biotic agents, insects or birds, the pollen grain may attach onto the body with the help of exine. Whereas in wind and water, there is no need of exine. Second, epihydrophily. The pollen grains float on the water surface and reach the stigma of the female flower. So in epi, the pollen grains they float. So it's just opposite to hypo. Hypo, the pollen grains go under the that's below the surface. Here it is floating on the water. The example, Vallisneria. Now both the example Vallisneria, Zostera we just saw in the previous slide. Again we will be seeing some more images in the next slide. Vallisneria is a submerged dioecious freshwater aquatic in which female flowers reach the water surface temporarily to ensure pollination and make flowers float on the surface of water. So temporarily they move upwards so that the possibility to hold on to the pollen grain. Specific gravity of the pollen grain is equal to that of water. That is why they float in the water. That is why float on the surface of water. Some aquatic plants are anemophilous. Now, even in this hydrophily, some may be anemophilous, some may be entomophilous. So, anemophilous example, Potamogeton and Halogaris. Now again I put an image of Potamogeton to understand what is the species or how it looks like. Some aquatic plants are entomophilous. Lotus, which most of you might have seen, water hyacinth, water lily. So one example, water lily, you can again observe with the entomophilous type of adaptation. Now here you can see few more images. That is the pollination in Vallisneria by epihydrophily, or what is the other name of Vallisneria? Tape grass, whereas Zostera seagrass. So you can see how the male plant, the female plant. Male plant, the pollen grains they usually float on the surface. The female part of the plant, which is spirally coiled, they come to the surface to catch hold of the pollen grains. Whereas in the second case, Zostera, the male and female plant again separate. The pollen which usually comes below the surface of water. Now here two more images added. One is water lily. We can see the water lily pollinating by the insects. So as we just read, some aquatic plants are entomophilous. That is example water lily. Whereas Potamogeton, you can see how the appearance underwater looks like, which takes place by and other than Entomophilus by Anemophilus. Now, next coming to the biotic agents. Now, biotic agents, it includes the living agents or living organism. So, about 80% of plants require the help of other living or moving creatures such as insects, birds, bats, snail to transfer the pollen grains from one flower to the another. As you already saw various examples and animation images. So, few more we are going to observe further. These also sustain our ecosystem and produce natural resources by helping plants reproduce. So what does this living agents do? They help us to maintain the ecosystem and also help in reproduction, correct? So you can see images over here where either insect or bird, bat, butterflies, a moth, various other insects carrying out the pollination. Here again some more images showing the bees, butterfly, wasp, moth, beetles, even the humans, we carry out artificial pollination, correct? Wind, bat, birds and flies. Now coming to the individual part of the pollinating agent, that is the living agents. First, insects, entomophily. Now it occurs in rose, jasmine, sistrum, various examples. So adaptation in entomophilous flowers. Now what should the adaptation? It will be mostly different from the water pollination or the wind pollination or abiotic agent, right? Here they are large, showy and often bright colors. Why? To attract the insects, right? The flowers produce sweet odor, that is smell, and have nectar glands. So mainly, for example, honeybees, they come to collect the nectar, and with the help of the smell or odor, fragrance, color, they easily get attracted. Then stigma is rough due to the presence of hair or sticky due to the mucilaginous secretion. The pollen grains are spiny and surrounded by a yellow sticky substance called pollen cake. Now, as I mentioned in the previous slide, in case of wind or water, the exine is absent. So, whereas pollen grains are smooth. Whereas in case of biotic agents, they are usually spiny. So some plants have special adaptation for insect visitor to help in cross pollination. So even in entomophilous flowers, there are special adaptation for the insects when they come to visit the flower. Now if you see here, one of the best mechanism, that is a lever mechanism or turnpipe mechanism in salvia. We can see here the bee coming and sitting onto the flower. When it sits, there are two levers present. The lower lever, when it sits on it, it gets pressed, and the upper lever comes on the top, sprinkling the pollen grains onto the back. And here I put another image where you can see butterfly as a pollinating agent. Now coming to the second type, pollination by birds, that is ornithophily. Again ornitho, bird, phily, pollination. Now if you go into detail, ornithology, study of birds. So if you are studying about birds, the term is ornithology. Then only a few types of birds are specialized for pollination. Now birds, again there are in hundreds and thousands, so all don't pollinate except a few. Which one? Most of the smaller birds. They are usually small in size and long beaks. Example, sunbird and hummingbirds. If I just give an add example over here, in the early morning, if you observe that if there are trees around your society or building, we can find these hummingbirds and sunbirds usually visiting the flowering plants. And even identification, the hummingbirds moreover has got a pointed long beak, whereas sunbirds usually slightly curved beak, as you can see in this image. Then some ornithophilous plants are bombyx, callistemum, that is bottlebrush, bootea, etc. Adaptations in ornithoflowers. So what is the adaptation in case of the bird flowering plants? Flowers are usually that is brightly colored, large and showy, again for attraction. They secrete profuse dilute nectar. Pollen grains are sticky and spiny. Flowers are generally without fragrance as birds have poor smell of taste. But in case of bird pollinated, the fragrance is not there, because in case of birds, the sense of smell is very less, or as it mentioned, poor sense of smell. So you can see a hummingbird pollinating, the beak is long. The second, put an animation image. Just if you observe the neck part of the bird, the color keeps on changing. Okay, that is another unique feature in case of hummingbirds. Then here another image of a sunbird. If you observe carefully, the beak is slightly curved. Moving further, the next type is pollination by bats, that is Chiropterophily, that is bat pollination. Now, bats can transport pollen grains over a long distance, sometimes several kilometers. Now, bats, as they pollinate, they go to trees which are usually at a longer distance, so they can travel several kilometers. What are the adaptation in Chiropterophilus flowers? Flowers are dull colored with strong fragrance, because again the sight or vision is less, so the color is usually dull, but the fragrance is very strong. And even if I go add additional point over here, the fragrance is usually, the odor is very bad odor, which is that's why the bats get attracted to the fragrance. They secrete abundant nectar. Flowers produce large amount of edible pollen grains, so that's why the bat pollinate these plants where the nectar is in more amount and the pollen grains can also be consumed. So that's why if you see here a image where I have shown the bat consuming the pollen grains with a lot of pollen grains on the entire body, head region, body region. Example, Anthocephalus cardamom tree, Adamsia, bob tree, Kigelia, sausage tree. These are some of the trees where the birds, or the in fact bats, pollinate. You can see an image of the bat pollinating, and here the animation image of real you can say real image where bat is carrying out pollination. And one more image animation, we can see a white bat, or it is called as Honduran bat. It is also kept as a pet in certain countries, called as a Honduran bat or a white bat. Okay, moving further, from the pollinating agents to outbreeding devices, contrivances. So contrivances for cross pollination, which is heteromorphic flower, homomorphic flower, that is dicliny or unisexuality, and monocliny, bisexuality. So in case of heteromorphic flower, it is monoecious or dioecious. Now these terms you already come across, whereas homomorphic is dichogamy, again protogamy or protandry, hercogamy, heterostyly, again two types, distyly, tristyly, and fourth type, self-sterility or self-incompatibility. For in that two types, gametophytic, GSI, or sporophytic, that is SSI. That is, what is SSI? Sporophytic self-incompatibility or gametophytic self-incompatibility, GSI. Now, moving further to the outbreeding devices, the detailed explanation of it. Here, outbreeding device or the contrivances. Now, first you see the animation image, so it becomes easier to understand what is this meaning of contrivances, right? So, self-incompatibility. Pollen will not germinate on genetically similar individuals, promotes outcrossing. So, as we just learned in the beginning part of the this part of the video or chapter, as pollination, self-pollination takes place, so there are certain plants which does not allow or promote self-pollination, but it promotes rather outcrossing or cross pollination. So you can see here the structure of the ovule, the ovary, where inside ovule, pollen tube, style, stigma. So you can see in three cases when two pollen grains S3 S4 they come, the S1 S2 they are different, so they are usually compatible, they are different pollen grains, so they usually accept it. Now S1 S2, here it is S3 S1, so S3 will be accepted, S1 will be not accepted. Similarly third case S1 S2, so here S2 S1 both are similar, so again it will be not accepting, so genetically similar ones are not accepted. Okay, I hope now it is understood. Now coming to the introduction part and the explanation part. Many plants have mechanisms that discourage or prevent self-pollination. So they don't allow self-pollination. To promote cross-pollination and increase genetic diversity, plants have evolved a wide variety of sexual strategies. So there are various other ways to avoid self-pollination. Genetic diversity is an essential factor for evolution by natural selection. Continued self-pollination results in the inbreeding depression. Thus, plants have developed many devices to encourage cross-pollination. So, the examples of outbreeding devices are as follows. Now, here, small chart where all the terms are given together, so it will be easier. Outbreeding devices are promote cross pollination because self pollination results in inbreeding depression. So heterostyle, different size of the style and the stamen. Example, primula, pin and thumb flowers, which you can see in this image. You can see stigma longer, in the other one shorter. Here the anther shorter, here it is longer. So the differences. Then hercogamy, anatomical barrier, anther and stigma. Example, Calotropis procera. So there's an image of Calotropis procera flower. Self-sterility, pollen grains do not germinate on the stigma of the cell flower. Example, Malva. Protandry, anther mature before pistil. Example, Hibiscus rosa sinensis, that is China rose. Protogyny, pistil matures before anther. Example, Aristolochia. Self-incompatibility, this is a genetic mechanism and prevents self-pollination or self-pollen from the same flower or the other flowers of the same plant from fertilizing the ovules by inhibiting pollen germination or pollen tube growth in the pistil. Now we go into the detail. That is unisexuality. In case the plant bears either male or female flowers, so it is called as what? Dioecium. Means dioecium where both the flowers are present separately. As flowers are unisexual, self-pollination is not possible. So if it is unisexual, the self-pollination is not possible. Plants may be monoecious. Example, maize or dioecious. Maize are dioecious, or in case of mulberry, papaya. So example for monoecious maize, dioecious, mulberry and papaya. So again I put the image of male and female plant in case of papaya, and types of plants with unisexual flowers. So again I added the image over here. Monoecious male and female flowers are found on the same individual. Example, Pinus species. Dioecious male and female flowers are separated on different individuals, cannabis species. So as the name dioecious, two different plants where male and female are present separately, monoecious present on the same plant. Now coming to the next part, dichogamy. So in the device, anthers and stigma mature at different times in a bisexual flower so as to prevent self-pollination. To prevent self-pollination, they mature in different times. So it can be divided into two types. Protandry, in this type, androecium matures earlier than the gynoecium. So first the androecium, the male part develops, and then the female part. Example, in disc florets of sunflower. Second type is protogyny. In this type, gynoecium matures earlier than the androecium. That is, female part matures first, then the male part. Example, Glorisio. So here we can see Protandry, Clerodendrum. You can see style and the stamen, and here stamen and this style. Whereas in Protogyny, Scrophularia, stigma, style, and here style, stigma. So growing at different times. Here again outbreeding devices, dichogamy. Here it's a bisexual flower, anthers and stigma, mature at different times so that self-pollination is inhibited. Clerodendron, salvia, sunflower, rose, magnolia, gloriosa. Example, so etc. Here protandry, male first, protogyny, female first. So in case of protogyny, the female part develops first, whereas protandry, the male part matures first. Clear? Now next is prepotency. Of the other flowers germinate rapidly over the stigma than the pollen grains from the same flower. Example, apple. So here as a term prepotency, pollen grains of other flowers germinate rapidly over the stigma from the than the pollen grains of the same flower. So here you can see life cycle of deciduous tree, flowering plant. So adult tree, the flower with the parts stigma, style, ovule, that is a pistil, stamen, anther and the filament. So here embryo, female gametophyte which is haploid. Then here a pollen tube brings pollen into the ovary for fertilization and the fruit formation takes place, and inside the fruit the seed. So mature fruit develop from the ovary to protect seeds and promote seed dispersal. Now next is heterostyle or heteromorph. So here in some plants like primula, primrose, there are 2 or 3 forms or types of flowers in which stigma and anthers are placed at 2 different levels. So heterostyle and heteroanthy. So I can see in heterostyle pin and thrum, okay, as just earlier we have seen, and in long style, if you see here, the style is longer, stamen is shorter. In the other case, style is shorter, stamen is longer. This prevents the pollen from reaching the stigma and pollinating. So it is one way of avoiding the self-pollination. In heteromorphic flowers, pollen grains produced from anther pollinate stigma produced at the same level. Hercogamy, it is a mechanical device to prevent self-pollination in bisexual flowers. So in case of hercogamy, it's a mechanical device present. For example, you can see here the crown flower are called as Calotropis species gigantea. In plants, natural physical barrier is present between 2 sex organs, there is a male and the female part, and avoid contact of the pollen with stigma of the same flower. As an example, Calotropis pentangular stigma is positioned above the level of the anthers, that is pollinia, as you can see the image. Then self-incompatibility, that is self-sterility, becoming self-sterile. This is a genetic mechanism due to which germination of pollen on stigma of the same flower is inhibited. So again earlier this particular similar image I has shown. Example, tobacco and tea. Now first the image self-incompatibility in relation to its genotypic in tobacco. So style, pollen tube, ovary. Here you can, as I mentioned earlier, S1, S2, S3, S4. So it will accept it. S1, S2, here S3, S1. So pollen grain with S3, the other genotype of a different plant is accepted. S1, same genotype is rejected. Same way S1, S2, the pollen grain S1, S2 is rejected. So again the very beautiful image of Nicotiana tabacum, the flower, and then next Camellia sinensis, or other words thea. Or if I give you very best example over here, thea in other words is a tea plants. Okay. Then next, pollen pistil interaction. It is the interaction of pollen grain with sporophytic tissue, that is stigma. It begins with pollination and ends with fertilization. Hence the name given as pollen pistil interaction. All the events from the deposition of pollen grain on stigma to the entry of pollen tube in the ovule, that is synergid, are referred as pollen pistil interaction. So pollination does not guarantee the transfer of right type of pollen. Often wrong type also lands on the stigma. So the pistil has the ability to recognize and accept the right or compatible pollen of the same species. So that is why the name given as pollen pistil interaction, because the pistil recognize the pollen which is of the same species, so or it is compatible. If it is compatible of the same species, it will accept and recognize and accept, or else it will reject. Thus, wrong type of pollen grain is discarded by the pistil. Compatibility and incompatibility of the pollen pistil is determined by special proteins. So there are special proteins which helps to identify the compatibility and incompatibility. The process involves pollen recognition followed by promotion or inhibition of pollen. So if it is the pollen is compatible, it will promote further. If it is not, it will inhibit, that is stop. The stigmatic surface of flower refuse other wrong type or incompatible pollen grains. A physiological mechanism operates to ensure that only intraspecific pollen germination or germinate successfully. Now further points, the compatible pollen absorbs water and nutrients from the surface of the stigma, germinate and produce pollen tube. Its growth through the style is determined by specific chemicals. So what happens here? The pollen absorbs water and nutrients from the surface of the stigma, they germinate, then pollen tube is formed and pollen tube starts to move through the style, and again the movement continues with the help of the certain chemicals. The stigmatic surface provides the essential prerequisite for a successful germination which are absent in pollen. The pollen tube is finally pushed through the ovule and reaches the embryo sac. The tip of the pollen tube enters in one of the synergids and then ruptures to release the contents. So it first the pollen tube enters the synergids in the ovule and it ruptures, then releases the content, that is the male gametes. Due to the pollen pistil interaction, intense competition develops even in compatible pollen grains. It also plays role in sexual reproduction and seed formation. So further the reproduction of seed formation also it is helpful. Pollen grain can also be induced to germinate in a synthetic medium. Sucrose induces pollen germination and tube growth in vitro. Addition of boric acid facilitates and accelerates pollen germination. So now this pollen pistil interaction can also be carried out synthetically, means what? Artificially, by use of sucrose solution for germination and by use of boric acid, which helps to increase the speed of pollen germination. Then just a few more images over here of the ovule, that is egg cell, sperm nuclei in the center, tube nucleus, sperm nuclei, pollen grain, stigma, pollen tube carrying the male gamete, style, embryo sac, pollen nuclei, ovary, micropyle. Here you can see how the pollen grain forming the pollen tube. Can see very clearly the animation image how the pollen tube, blue color tube passing into the ovule through the style and reaching the ovule inside the ovary. Then here again the slightly bigger image of the stigma showing style, transmitting tissue, stigma, pollen capture, pollen adhesion, hydration, germination, penetration, pollen tube formation, and this pollen tube moving into the ovule. Okay, so further artificial hybridization, it is one of the major approaches used in crop improvement. So it is artificially carried out. Only the desired pollen grains are hand pollinated and used for fertilization. So what is required or the desired one is taken and this artificial hybridization is carried out. This is also accomplished by emasculation and bagging. So as we use the term emasculation, bagging and tagging, or in emasculation we carry out anthesis, that is the pollen is removed before it gets pollinated and we use the one or desired pollen grain. So you can see the image over here, the stigma, anther, filament, stamen. So here the pollen is transferred, the anther which is removed or cut, so that whichever required one can be transferred. So another image you can see the parent after removal of the anthers by emasculation, the parent new species or other pollen grains are added by dusting. Clear? So that ends with the today's part of the chapter, the assignment questions of whatever we have learned today. So thank you all of you. The last part will be put up in the last video.